like, come on through, Cookie. I want to pull my soapbox. That's basically it. Let's talk about drag and all its forms. What, Cookie? Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for season 1, episode 3 of Shades of Blue. All right, so let's just jump right in here. So Wozniak actually is still at the bar when we log into this and we're looking at this here. He's at the bar where he was. He's having a drink. And he's approached by this guy. He starts playing pool or whatever. And he's approached by this guy. One thing leads to the other. Conversation goes left, right, and otherwise. And next thing you know, you see him out on the side of the bar, and the guy is actually blowing him off in the damn alley. So, really was, you know, he's a whole trifling ass, but he getting some head on the side of the goddamn bar and whatnot. And there's this little raggedy looking little dog out there watching, and the dog is looking at him like, really, over by the dumpster, get a little head. Mess. Anyway, we got our girl Harley. She's leaving away from getting hers busted wide open over to ADA's house, and she has actually caught a car. She got like an Uber or whatever, or a cab or whatever to take her home after she had a little conversation with the jerk who was literally waiting outside for her. And they have an exchange of words, and he's like, oh, I'll give you a lift home. And she's like, you're not taking me nowhere, period. And you're not concerned with me and all of that. And basically let him know, I know you were listening, basically, for lack of better words. And he's lied and said basically that he wasn't, but he's lying. He was listening because he's a perv. Anyway. On her way home, she actually is going past one of the liquor stores that her group is actually hooked up with, and there's a armed robbery taking place. She stops the car. She jumps out, goes into this whole thing. She ends up stopping the guys temporarily. They hold the Arab guy who's running the place, holds him hostage and ends up stabbing him and running, and a mess, a whole mess. It's just a whole mess. But that was the whole thing. Yeah, and the guy got stabbed. It was fucked up. Anyhow, I don't even know what the relevance of all that was, but basically the only thing that really came out of that scene, they questioned, like, why were you in that neighborhood at like 3 a.m.? So I'm sure that's going to pop back up later. So y'all remember that. Why were you in that area at 3 a.m.? And she just made up something. She surely didn't tell him she was having a little tryst with the ADA. So anyway, moving on. Then we actually have a scene from the funeral of the guy who got killed, and then Loman, the rookie. This fool is at the funeral. That's fine. I mean, he's doing way too much. Doing too much. And they actually had figured out that he was like being in contact with the family. So the little group that trailed him to the funeral. This fool then got up in the middle of the funeral, get ready to spill his guts. And they stormed the church and escorted his ass out of the church. And it was just an upset. They escorted his ass out of the church because he was getting ready to start with this shouldn't have happened, this, that, the other. Took his ass on outside, told him this police business, back off. Put his ass in handcuffs, threw him in the back of the car. The civilians ended up attacking the cops. They were throwing bottles and shit at him, and it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So the group had got together and took him down by the pier and threatened him and told him they was gonna make him. They were doing like a little Russian roulette thing. They told him, "Well, you know, we didn't have enough of you, so you gonna go ahead on and commit suicide, and we're gonna be done with this." And he ended up begging them, "No, no, 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 no." So they put the fear of God in him, and they just basically told him, "We ain't playing with you. You get it together, or it's gonna be some shit. Because if you go down, Harley goes down. We ain't letting Harley go down. So you wanna die? You're gonna die. That's just the way it is. Nobody playing with you, you know." So he got it. He's like, all right, all right. He goes on. Back at that club where Wozniak was getting head and all that, he done messed around with the drunk shit, looking at the dumbass dog, and had a car accident. He ran into somebody else's car and ended up getting a concussion, and his ass is passed out. He's end up in the hospital. So Wozniak ends up sending Harley to pick up this van from Donnie's people from the Connect. She picks up this van. She gets there, she gives the tip to the FBI agents. So they trailing her, you know, they're like, we're gonna meet you there. Before they get there, she's like, what's in the van? He's like, he ain't say nothing. She finds there's explosives and adding machines, like money adding machines in there. And she calls Wozniak, and she's like, what is this shit? This is bigger than the shit, the type of little shit that we do. What are you into? What you got us all hooked up in? And he's like, nothing. What nothing supposed to be in the van. So she's like, I'll take care of it. So she took the stuff out and hid it in the dumpster. So when the Asian girl and the jerk show up, of course he's questioning her about the van and all of this here. And she's like, whatever. She's covering for him. He accused her of covering for Wozniak and made her open her trunk of her car and all this. And she's like, you're an asshole, you know, whatever. But meanwhile, all along, stuff was in a dumpster. So he said, well, where did he tell you to drop it off at? We're going to follow you. So she goes back to where Wozniak's boat is and all that. The jerk decides to go through. He going to search Wozniak's boat and sees Anna Maria is the name. I think it's Anna Maria is the name of the boat, which is actually Wozniak's daughter's name. And he says some old smart, out of the way, nasty shit about Wozniak and growing up underneath Wozniak, and it's no wonder that the girl committed suicide. So after that, they end up going back in the car. The Asian girl, the FBI agent, is taking Harley back to her own car, and she starts talking to her, trying to gain her trust and everything, and just kind of telling her, you know, I don't agree with the way that he really handles you. He wasn't right in saying what he said about Waz's daughter. And then she tells her, you know, my cousin committed suicide, so, you know, I didn't care for that or whatever. Meanwhile, she didn't tell her very much, you know. It just was what it was. And she thought that she really was getting down. We found out later on, because she goes to the jerk's apartment after that, and the jerk opens the door. He's naked and stuff. He's just a jerk. He just says he's a jerk, and she didn't even buy the bait. She's like, okay, your dick's out, now what? You know, she just played his ass dust. But anyway, they go into all that, and she said, yeah, I lied to her. I told her my cousin had committed suicide, but that wasn't true. But she told me some mess about her being in an abusive relationship, and that's why she loved Wozniak, because Wozniak actually made her feel safe. Whatever. Okay, so hold on to that right there. Let me go backwards. Okay, so Wozniak, in the meantime, in between time, ends up getting out the hospital and goes to see Donnie, you know, his little lover, his little side lover, and punches him in the face and tell him, what the fuck was going on? What are we into? What aren't you telling me? And he gave him some cock and bull story about, no, it's not nothing. It just is what it is. We know all we need to know. We just pick it up and drop it off. That's all. And it's the explosive is for a building. Nobody's going to get hurt, and they got nothing to do with nothing. And for me, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. I don't think it sounded right to Wozniak either because he kind of walked off. And he's like, I still got your trust, right? And he's just like, yeah, I guess. And he walks off. That shit don't sound right. That sounds like some old terrorist shit to me. I don't know. I could be wrong, but y'all just hold on. We're gonna watch and see what's going on. But this sounds like some old bullshit to me. I don't know. That don't sound right. You know, they do drugs and taking the drug dealers' money and shit. What anybody need some explosive for? This shit don't sound right. But okay. Anyway, moving on. So Wozniak ends up having a conversation with Lohman. He pulls his little ass to the side. He's talking to him about good cop versus bad cop, and they're going back and forth, and he's bleeding hard about, you know, people think I'm, you know, my community needs to see a good cop, not another bad cop, blah, 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 blah. Wozniak's like, hey, boom, broke it down. Sometimes the right decision is not in the book. Bam. Now, it don't take no brain surgeon to figure that shit out. So, that's where we're at with that. Later on, he ends up going on a call with Harley. So it's Harley and Lohman. They get there. There's this black girl. She opens the door. They don't have no warrant. She won't let them in. Meanwhile, this bitch got a goddamn black eye and a big egg up on the side of her shit where she done had her ass tore out the frame. And then she's like, no, he ain't here. He ain't here. He was up in there. And as soon as she got up out the door, baby, he went back to whooping her ass like it was just the thing to do on a Tuesday. So they talking back and forth, and he's like, Harley, you know something's going on. She's like, yeah, I know too, but we can't go up in there without no warrant unless you heard cries for help. And he's like, oh, come on, for real, more lying and, you know, whatever. She's like, well, then let's go. It is what it is. And he's like, she said, unless you heard cries for help. Did you hear a cry for help? And he's like, yeah. She's like, you sure? Yeah. So they turned around, they got in action, they kicked that motherfucking door in and broke that shit up and took care of it. So now it's kind of making sense. Sometimes you got to bend the rules to do what's right. But again, you know, all that stealing shit they be doing, whatever. All that stealing and killing, yeah, okay. Anyway, so that was that. So we're thinking, okay, he's kind of getting into their frame of mind. Not so much, because the next time you see his ass, he done went over to the guy he killed to his cousin's house, bought the little son a little tablet and shit, and he just can't get out of it. He can't get out of it, you know? Just can't get out of it. Anyway, other than that, what's going on? We got Tess. Remember Tess bust that bitch upside her head last week with that glass while fucking her husband? That girl that came down to the office and wants to file a complaint against Tess. She ends up, Tess's partner grabs her up, talks to her, finds out all Amber wants is an apology from Tess, and she'll let it go. No problem. Tess is like, I will kick her fucking ass again. That's what I'll do for her. But they end up going down to the bar where the girl works. They get to talking. The girl still being all smart with Tess. She's like, you know, this ain't no apology. You in there talking shit and this, that, and the other, and on and on and on. And Tess is like, listen, all right, you know, it is what it is. I apologize for kicking your fucking ass. You know, girl's like, no, that, you know, get out of here. That ain't it. Whatever. So then Tess ends up telling her, she gave her a decent apology, and because girl was talking smart, talking about, yeah, I agree. And every time we get, she said, you know, you ain't nothing but sweat and friction. They don't care nothing about you, just using you. And the girl was talking good shit. Oh, I love it every time he get on me and all that old cute shit. And then she ended up telling her, do you know how hard I fought for my marriage? You know, she's like, you're going to wake up one day and find that you've been used. You're going to find out that you ain't good enough no more, that you done got too old, and some young bitch that came in and stole your motherfucking man, bitch. Paraphrasing. She said, so, yeah, I'm sorry for fucking you up. It is what it is, you know. And because when the girl had told her, you know, if your marriage, don't be blaming on me, because obviously your marriage is broken. And at whatever, it clicked the light on for her. And that's when she went on, apologized to the girl, walked on out. Later on, we see her sit with her partner, and they having a heart-to-heart. They spend a lot of time together. They just talking, having a beer, whatever they doing, sitting out there. And he said, I got a million reasons to hate your husband. And he's like, I just don't understand it. He's like, but, y'all go through whatever y'all go through. But he's like, ain't no way that I wouldn't fight. He said, I'd do all the wrong things for a woman like you. That whole thing. And he's pretty much single. I think he has a girlfriend, but it ain't nothing real, like he's not married. And next thing you know, baby, they in a lip lock. I said, oh, shit. So, we'll be watching them too. Okay? So, after that, Asian girl and the jerk are talking, and the jerk says, wait a minute. When you went to the lockers, and you were looking for a locker under Wozniak's name, let's go look for a locker under Wozniak's daughter's name. Sure enough, bam, there's a locker under his daughter's name. They go in there. But, they find the explosives, they find the adding machines, and that's kind of where we actually ended out at, other than the fact that the ADA actually came over to Harley's house, and then they're outside swapping back and forth and finding out that usually the guy, Miguel, it's very hard for people to be let out of jail, but there's a possibility. So he drops that on her, and they're just meshing together. They're just liking the hell out of each other is all we're saying, really. And that's where we ended off at. So next week, I think it's going to be real good because all the shit's going to hit the fan because now the feds actually do have something on Wozniak. But we'll have to see where all that goes. This is telling you something about them explosives and all that shit. There's more to this. That's something ain't right with that for me, but we'll see what happens. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You guys know how that all works. I'll talk to y'all next week. See you guys.